Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your girl Slee with another message. So today I've been meditating on the different stages of denial when someone that you once admired betrays you. So this really has to do with the things that you overlooked, but they were plain in sight in terms of they were visible, flaws that you tried to ignore, but they were there, but you overlooked them. And I've been asking God, how did David miss the signs when it came to Saul? And then the question came back to me, how did you also miss the signs? Because if we're being honest, the life and story of David, whatever season it was, there's a portion that we can relate to, some more than others and others less. So I was thinking back on 1 Samuel when we meet Saul before he becomes king. This is the time when the prophet Samuel had been pressured and God finally gave these people their king. And the first king that God looked at was Saul. And there's portion of scripture where we clearly start seeing the flaws of Saul, but yet the people wanted a king, and the prophet Samuel was going to anoint them. This is a time when Saul was hiding behind a bunch of, I think it was almost like cases. As Samuel called him out, he hid, and he also lied in terms of saying things like, we are the least at home, we don't have much. Meanwhile, he was the son of Kish, if I remember correctly, and they were a well-to-do tribe, well-to-do family. But he started like having those small little white lies, started hiding behind the cases, as he was about to be anointed. And then we meet David who comes into the picture later on after King Saul had betrayed God. He goes against the ways of the Lord and the Spirit of the Lord leaves him. So now Samuel is seeking a new king for the people of Israel, and that person was David. So David was a young shepherd boy, and he was the son of Jesse. He had brothers, he took care of sheep, and we meet David in the book of Samuel. In relation to Saul, he was there to help Saul calm down his tormenting spirits, because the Spirit of the Lord had left him. So he comes into the picture to play a harp for Saul, and Saul comes down and everything is fine. But this is not really much of what I want to talk about, but stick with me. The reason why I'm dragging the introduction here, so you guys can see what I'm trying to get to towards the end of their relationship between Saul and David. So they obviously form a relationship where he plays the harp for him, he's calmer, he sings the psalms, he's calmer. And then later on we see David standing up to the Philistines, Goliath, and being a courageous young boy, he tells Saul, I can actually, defeat this Goliath, that everybody's scared of. And Saul gives him the opportunity to do so, to the point that he offers him his armor. But David says, no, thank you. So he goes in and obviously defeats Goliath, as we all know, right? So that's where trouble starts. Because David has not only relieved the people of this Philistine and the army of the Philistines, now he has created attention upon himself, where now people are recognizing, who's this young boy? Who is this shepherd boy defeating the Philistines and Goliath, where the army of King Saul couldn't do it? So we hear of women or a group of people start singing songs that says, Saul has killed his 10,000, his 1,000, and David has killed his 10,000s. So there's a comparison there. Saul was able to only get rid of 1,000, but David was able to get rid of 10,000. And then we hear that the spirit of envy, of jealousy enters into Saul. I want to talk about when you overlook the characters or the characteristics of someone you once admired, and how you tend to, even when you try to now get away from this individual, how you tend to also still be in denial because you're not sure, how can this be? How can a man that I once sang a harp for, a man that I helped defeat the Philistines and Goliath, be after my life? Because upon this time in the book of, I think it's chapter 14 or chapter 18, I can't remember, but between there, where now Saul is after David. So there are 11 portions of scriptures in the book of 1 Samuel where we see Saul trying to unalive, get rid of David. We look at the first scripture. It says on 1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 11, Saul throws a spear at David while he plays the harp. Imagine. And then in verse 17 of the same chapter, Saul offers his daughter, hoping David dies in battle. The third time is chapter 18 as well. Saul offers Michal with the deadly bride price, 100 Philistines foreskin. Saul orders Jonathan and servants to kill David in chapter 19 of verse 1. Saul throws another spear at David, chapter 19 verse 10. Saul sends messages to get rid of David at his house, verse 11 of chapter 19 of 1 Samuel. Saul demands David to be brought to him so he can get rid of Saul, verse 15 of chapter 19 of 1 Samuel. Verse 20 to 22, Saul sends 3 groups of messages to capture David, then goes himself. Verse 15 of chapter 23 of 1 Samuel, it also reads, Saul haunts David in the wilderness of Zephyr. And chapter 24 of the same book, verse 22, Saul takes 3,000 men to pursue David. Hey guys. And then in chapter 26 of the same book, 1 Samuel, Saul again pursues David in Zephyr with 3,000 men. So these are the different times that Saul tried to unalive David because of the spirit of envy and jealousy. You would think by this time David kind of gets the sign that, okay, this guy doesn't like me. And yes, he does. He eventually gets it in chapter 19 because Jonathan warns him. After Saul orders Jonathan and the people to go get rid of David, then Jonathan warns him, because we read also in the book of 1 Samuel that David and Jonathan form a relationship, a good friendship, a very close friendship. And Jonathan was willing to go against his own father to save his friend. So from chapter 19, I think he was clear that, okay, this man is after my life. And then after that, David was running away from Saul with that in mind. But before that, he was still unsure what's going on, right? And I want to speak to someone who is still unsure of people or that person in your life that is really not for you. They have allowed the enemy to go in their subconscious mind and their spirit to defile you, to assassinate your character, assassinate your gifts. Mind you, you are once quite close to this individual, but now all of a sudden you have become their enemy. So when David realized Saul was trying to kill him, Saul openly tells Jonathan